Hola, mi familia, and welcome to Listen with Mateo. And do we have a lot to talk about what has happened over the previous week? It's been a lot. It is currently November 9th. And this week has been a lot, so we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about Tuesday, November 4th, Election Day. Democrats swept Republicans. And when I say swept, I don't mean that they won close races. No, they demolished them. Virginia, 15-point victory. New Jersey, 14 points. New York City, over 2 million votes. But wait, there's more because... And this is the part that has me beside myself. Republicans are eating each other alive. Marjorie Taylor Greene, space laser Marjorie, is on The View criticizing Republicans. Ted Cruz is calling her too liberal. Rand Paul is voting against Trump's tariffs. And Trump is calling Mitch McConnell disloyal. Mitch McConnell, the man who protected him through 2 impeachments. And I cannot make this up. And I would not dare make any of this up. And while all of this is happening, a U.S. cargo plane crashes in Louisville. 14 people dead. The government been shut down for 40 days. 42 million Americans lost SNAP benefits, food stamps. A federal judge said Trump has violated the First Amendment, and Trump gives his authoritarian buddy an exemption from Russian sanctions. This is wild. This has been a week. So I'm about to spend 60 minutes breaking all of this down for you because this matters. All of this means something. And somebody needs to get it out there. So let's get to it. Because coming up, let's talk about the election. All right. Now, let's talk about Tuesday, the election. Democrats swept these elections. And I'm not talking about barely winning. I'm talking about domination. I'm talking about statements. CNN headlined, and I'm reading it to you right now. Democrats swept to victory in the first major test of President Donald Trump's second term. Swept. After getting destroyed in 2024, and they did get destroyed, let's be honest. Democrats needed this, and they got it. Virginia. Abigail Spanberger, former CIA officer, 3-term congresswoman, beat Winsome Earl Sears by 15 points. 15! 57.4% to 42.4%. That's not a victory, that's a rejection. This is voters saying we don't want what you are selling. And get this. It's the biggest Democratic victory in Virginia since 1961. This is how historic this is. That Virginia elected the first female governor. Now, how did she win? I'm going to tell you exactly how. Because she talked about the economy. She talked about federal workers not getting paid because of the shutdown. She talked about Trump's tariffs making everything expensive. She talked about real problems that affect real people. And Earl Sears, she ran ads about transgender people, about bathroom bills, about cultural war nonsense. And voters said, we don't care about that. What we do care about is whether or not we can afford to eat, whether or not we can afford to feed our children, whether or not we can afford to do these things that we need to do in order to survive, whether or not I'm going to be able to have health insurance. These are things that matters. Virginia is home to 320,000 federal workers. These people haven't been paid since October 1st, over a month. And Spanberger said the Trump administration is attacking Virginia's economy. And the voters, they agreed. And let me tell you something about Winsome Earl Sears. She's a black woman. She's a Marine veteran. She would have been the first black female governor in American history, historic candidate. And she lost by 15 points because she was running on the wrong message. That should tell every Republican something. Culture wars don't work when people can't afford groceries. Sherrill, New Jersey. Let's talk about New Jersey. Mickey Sherrill, Navy helicopter pilot, federal prosecutor, won by 14 points. But here's what I love about this. In 2024, Trump flipped 5 New Jersey counties from blue to red. And everybody was saying, oh, Trump's expanding his coalition. Trump is expanding his constituents. Trump is expanding his fan base, his followers, if you will. Tuesday night, she flipped all 5 back. All 5 back. She flipped all 5 back to blue. Every single one went back to blue. And you know what that tells me? Trump's appeal is about him. It's personal. When Trump is on the ballot, some people vote for him. When he's not on the ballot, Republicans lose. Her opponent, who has run for governor 3 times, went full MAGA this time. Trump endorsed him. He lost by 14 points. One voter told reporters, and I love this quote, he voted for Sherrill. And he said, as a vote against the Trump administration. Not for her, but against Trump. And that's the sentiment right now. Right? And then New York City. Mandami. A 34-year-old Democrat socialist who just became mayor of the largest city in the world, in this country, the largest city in this country. Zohran Mamdani. A year ago, nobody knew who this guy was. He was a state assemblyman from Queens. He beat Andrew Cuomo, former governor, and Curtis Silva. Trump endorsed Cuomo. Trump said voters had no choice but to vote for Como. Trump threatened to cut federal funding if Mamdani won. And the New Yorkers, they said, we don't care. Over 2 million people voted. First time since 1969. And Mamdani won voters under 45 by 43 points. 43. Exit polls showed the top issue was cost of living. It wasn't crime. It wasn't wokeness, but the cost of living. People want to afford food. People want to afford rent. That's it. That's what they care about. Now, what does this mean for the Democrats? Democrats need to learn from this because this is important. One, the economy matters more than anything. All three winning Democrats talked about jobs, wages, affordability, and that's the message. Two, you can win in different ways. Spanberger is a centrist. Sherrill is a moderate. Mamdani is a socialist. All three won. There's not one Democratic formula. Stop trying to find that. Stop using spreadsheets. And three, culture war stuff does not work. Nobody is focusing on those issues right now. What people care about is whether or not they can afford food, their mortgage, their rent, their child's care, their health insurance, whether or not it's okay for them to be who they are. Those things are what mattered. And Democrats, you need to take a look. And you need to really pay attention to how these three different members of the Democratic Party and how they won. And then four, young voters will show up if you give them a reason. Mamdani proved that. Talked about student debts, housing costs, climate. They'll vote. Democrats need to run on the economy in 2026. They need to talk about real issues. They need to stop playing defense on culture war and start talking about what the kitchen table issues are. What everyday people are panicking about. What everyday people are worrying about. Whether or not that they can feel comfortable in their own skin and be who they are. And love who they love. Or whether or not that they can feed their family. Whether or not they can have health insurance. Whether or not they don't know whether or not when they're going to get their paychecks or if their crops is going to sell. And these are real issues. And Democrats, if you do this, then you can win back the House. Then you can gain Senate seats. And if you don't, then you won't push any farther. You won't, because these are things that matter. Republicans, you should be learning, but they won't. One, let's break it down. Trump is a very vulnerable human being. His endorsements don't work. Cuomo in New York City lost. New Jersey, the person that Trump endorsed, lost. In Virginia, the Trump that person endorsed, lost. His policies are now becoming unpopular. And this shutdown is very unpopular. The tariffs, unpopular. Federal workers going without pay, unpopular. And the culture war messaging is dying. People care more about rent. People don't care right now who is loving who, what you identify as. You know, you right now, this culture war of the Democrats is pushing all this on you. Republicans, nobody's listening to that. Because what they're actually listening to, and if you actually would pay attention, is the economy. Groceries are not coming down like you, President Donald J. Trump, promised. You promised that the cost of food will come down. It has not. And then your tariffs are harming farmers. People are paying attention to this. And you can't just run on being pro-Trump. When Trump's not on the ballot, you lose. You need your own identity, your own policies, your own vision. You can't just say, I agree with Donald J. Trump. Because if Trump is not on the ballot, you're not going to win. And Trump's coalition is personal. It doesn't transfer onto other people. Those New Jersey counties that flipped in 2024 all flipped back. Now, I'm not saying like this is a huge issue or that the Republicans are in trouble. I'm not, because going into 2026, going into the midterms, if the Democrats continue to do what they did in this odd year election, then the Republicans are in trouble. Because the Democrats, you can take back the House, you can gain seats back in the Senate. You know, these are very doable. But these are very, very doable, winnable elections. Democrats, pay attention. Pay attention. You don't have to be just a centrist Democrat or a left-leaning center like I am. You don't have to just be a moderate Democrat. You don't have to just be a socialist Democrat. There's room for everybody. And if we all continue to use the same message, because all three different parts of the Democratic Party, all three still pushed the same message. Affordability. Food. Housing. And this is what things, and these are what matters to people. And this is what people need to focus on. Now, coming up, let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene's revenge tour and some friction going on within the Republican Party. So stick around. Go grab you a shot of tequila. Come back. And we'll have fun with this. All right. Now this is where I'm going to have fun with this. And it sometimes scares me about this. So here's what happened. Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, MTG, who said the Jewish space lasers started the California wildflowers, who believes QAnon conspiracies, who is a MAGA royalty, who is now criticizing Trump and Republicans. Let me say this again so that you can process what I'm saying. Marjorie Taylor Greene is now too reasonable for the Republican Party. And here's what happened. And AOC spilled the tea on TikTok, and it makes perfect sense. So earlier this year, MTG wanted to run for Senate in Georgia. She was ready. She wanted to go statewide. And Trump told her no, just no. You're staying in the House. And MTG was furious, livid. You don't tell Marjorie Taylor Greene what to do. So AOC, this is a direct quote, Trump shut down Marjorie Taylor Greene's personal ambitions to run for Senate in Georgia, and she's now been on a revenge tour ever since. So what does she do? What does MTG do? She goes on a media tour. And not just conservative media. No. She went on The View. She went on to the show with Bill Maher's show, Real Time with Bill Maher. She went on that. She was a guest on that. And so I'm trying to picture this. So you have Marjorie Taylor Greene sitting next to Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar criticizing Republicans. I mean, I had to make sure that the video that I was watching wasn't AI. No, it wasn't. It actually happened. And here's the thing, both audience from Real Time with Bill Maher and The View, both audiences applaud her. And this is what she is actually saying, and I can't believe that I'm saying this, but some of what she's saying, I agree with her. Republicans should pass a budget and end the shutdown. Federal workers should get paid. The GOP has no health care plan. Letting the ACA subsidies expire will hurt people. These are reasonable positions from Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she's not wrong. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House, and they still cannot pass a budget. The House hasn't voted on anything since September 19th. That's almost 2 months they've been on vacation. Meanwhile, 42 million people lost food stamps and SNAP benefits. Air traffic controllers aren't getting paid. Government shutdowns is still going on. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying maybe we should govern. And so how did Republicans come back at Marjorie Taylor Greene for this? We have Senator Ted Cruz, the guy who fled to Cancun during a Texas power crisis. Remember that whenever Texas completely frozen and then Ted Cruz decided well, I'm out, deuces, and bounced on his people? Yeah. You know, the guy who let Trump literally has insulted his wife and then phone banked him for it. He went on CNBC and told people to ignore MTG. He said, quote, what I found is that whenever an elected official decides that they are going to turn on Israel and hate Israel, you will very quickly see every other policy out of their mouth become very, very liberal. So now, according to Ted Cruz, Marjorie Taylor Greene is pro-massive government spending, which I don't think that that's true. Pro-taxes, and I've heard Marjorie Taylor Greene still, even on real time, spoke against a lot of taxes, pro-open borders. Again, that's not true. And pro-amnesty, I don't think that's true either. So basically what Ted Cruz is saying is that Marjorie Taylor Greene is now AOC. And that's wild because her voting record hasn't changed. She's voting the same way. She just wants Republicans to pass a budget. But sure, Ted, she's very liberal. And Marjorie Taylor Greene did not take this lying down. She went on X or Twitter or whatever it's called now and blasted pathetic Republican men, telling her to be seen but not heard. And she said, sorry, I'm not sorry. I don't obey Republican men's demands that I, as a woman, remain seen but not heard. Hey, wait a minute. Marjorie Taylor Greene? Feminist icon? No. Mike Johnson, the speaker, dismissed her, saying she probably hasn't read the healthcare plans. And Marjorie Taylor Greene shot back and said, there are no plans, and Johnson knows it. And she's right. Republicans have promised and repeal and replace Obamacare for 15 years. But where's the plan? They haven't shown it. They haven't let us see it. They haven't posted anything about it. They won't talk about it. Whenever they are being asked about it, they say, well, we've got it. Even Donald Trump, whenever Donald Trump went on 60 Minutes, Donald Trump was being pressured about it. He says, and Donald Trump just kept saying, we've got a plan. We just need to pass the budget. But if we let these ACA subsidies go out, millions of people will lose health insurance. Period. Are you ready for that? Are you ready to see millions of people going in debt or not being able to take care of themselves because they no longer can afford the health insurance? So instead of going to a primary doctor, guess where they're going to go? To their local hospital and sit in the emergency room or go to urgent care and treat it like it's primary doctor. That's what's going to happen. And let me be honest. I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let me be clear. I don't like her politics. I don't like her conspiracy theories. But watching her make Republicans squirm, now that's entertaining. When Marjorie Taylor Greene looks reasonable by comparison, your party has just lost the plot. Your party's going on. Something's going on. Now, let's talk about Rand Paul. While Marjorie Taylor Greene was on cable news, Rand Paul was doing something Republicans used to claim they believed in, and that was defending the Constitution. Trump's been imposing tariffs on everybody, Canada, Brazil, 100 plus countries, claiming national emergency, and Rand Paul said, no, that's not how this works. This week, Paul led 3 Senate votes to roll back Trump's tariffs. Canada's tariffs passed 51-48. Brazil tariffs passed. Global tariffs passed 51-47. 4 Republicans voted with Democrats. Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell, Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski. And Trump literally lost his mind. Trump went on Truth Social, and of course he did. He called them unbelievably disloyal. He wrote, "What is wrong with them other than suffering from Trump derangement syndrome?" Then, to the people of Kentucky, Alaska, Maine, please contact these senators and get them to finally adhere to Republican values. So apparently now, Republican values now means doing whatever Trump says, even when it's bad for your state and it's unconstitutional. That's not a political party. That's a cult. That's, people who, I still think Trump is doing a good job. Really? So Marjorie Taylor Greene has spoken out against Trump. You won't. Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell have spoken out against Trump. And then Rand Paul gave a speech on the Senate floor. He said, "I am a Republican. I am a supporter of Donald Trump, but I do not want to live under emergency rule." He pointed out that tariffs are taxes, and the Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power to tax. He said tariffs are taxes, and the power to tax belongs to Congress, not the president. And he's right. Constitutionally, he's right. And then Mitch McConnell joins in, and McConnell voted with Paul. The guy who enabled Trump for years, the guy who refused to convict him in 2 impeachment trials, even he said, "This is too much." McConnell wrote an op-ed, "Kentucky can afford the high cost of Trump's tariffs. Turns out destroying your state's economy has limits." I disagree with Rand Paul on a lot, but on this, I agree. And I will say this, whenever Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell, Marjorie Taylor Greene start becoming the reason or the voice of reason, you need to look at your values, Republicans. You need to look at what you're actually standing for. But coming up next, go ahead, grab you another shot of tequila, maybe something stronger, maybe have you a wine cocktail. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the Louisville tragedy. Now, I want to talk about something serious that happened not even a couple hours from where I live. A plane crashed in Louisville, Kentucky, and 14 people died. UPS Flight 2976, a cargo plane heading to Honolulu, Hawaii, crashed right after takeoff at around 5:15 p.m. The left engine literally fell off and just detached from the wing mid-flight. There's security footage of the engine separating and a massive fireball. And then the plane drops from the sky. It hit Grade 8 auto parts, which is near the airport. 14 people died, 3 crew members, 11 people on the ground. One was a child, a young child. One was John Locke's 52 years old, worked at Grade A Auto Parts. His nephew said he loved waking up and going to work every day. 3 UPS crew members just doing their jobs. People getting their cars fixed. Just regular people living their everyday lives are gone. The NTSB found that 37 seconds after takeoff, there was a warning bell. The crew had about 25 seconds to try to save the plane. 25 seconds. That's not a long time. The FAA grounded all mid-11 aircrafts, same type involved in the 1979 O'Hare crash that killed 273 people. That was due to improper maintenance. And here's the context of this. This is happening during a government shutdown that's straining the aviation system. Air traffic controllers are working without pay since October 1st. Nearly 80% in New York calling out sick because they're tired and they're exhausted because they are having to go to work and work without pay. And then on top of that, not only going to work without pay, but also a lot of them are having to DoorDash afterwards to take care of their families. Now, I'm not saying that the government shutdown caused this accident, because it didn't. This looks to be mechanical. But when your aviation systems are under stress, tragedies feel more preventable. And this is a tragedy, plain and simple. You have 14 people dead, family destroyed, a community that I love, a community that I have a lot of friends living in, a community that I have a lot of people that I know that loves that area, are hurting right now. The city is hurting. And this kind of got maybe a little bit overshadowed because it did happen on election day, in which, but these were real people. And that matters more than any election results. That matters more than anything. That just matters. And when people are gone, and when you see things like this, and you see tragedies happening, and then on top of that, you have a government shutdown, it seems like there's so many more that we can do. It seems like there's so many more that we can do as a community, as people, as individuals. It seems like there's so much more that we can do for each other. And then coming up next, we're going to talk about Trump's Hungary gift. We'll talk about that coming up next. So on Friday, Trump gave the middle finger to his own foreign policy. Viktor Orban, Hungary's prime minister, who spent 15 years dismantling democracy, came to the White House. And Trump, plain and simple, gave him everything he wanted. Orban's asked for an exemption from Russian energy sanction, and Trump gave it to him. Hungary kept buying Russian oil and gas. This matters because 70% of Hungary's gas come from Russia. 86% of their oil comes from Russia. This means that over $1 billion flows to Putin, who is at war with Ukraine. Now, Trump's been sanctioning other countries for buying Russian energy. And he's put 25% tariffs on India. But O'Brien over here, like, nah, he's cool, bro. He's cool. I got it. And Trump's excuse is Hungary's is landlocked, so it's difficult to switch. But there's also somebody else who is landlocked, and that's the Czech Republic. And they manage without Russian oil, and their fuel prices are lower. And here's the real reason. Well, this is what I think. Let me rephrase this. This is what I think is the real reason. Orban is Trump's buddy. Orban is an authoritarian, and we know that Trump admires authoritarians. He has a history of it. North Korea, Vladimir Putin. He has a career and a history of admiring these authoritarians. CNN quoted an analyst stating the U.S. decision will allow over 1 billion euros to flow into the Kremlin's war chest. 1 billion euros to Russia, while Ukraine is fighting for survival. And here's the thing, and we all know how this works and how Trump feels about this and how Trump wants things to go. You know, Trump likes it when you pat him on the back, right? Whenever you're saying, Trump, you're the greatest of all time. But now, if you're somebody who speaks out against Trump, or even have anything remotely to say bad towards Trump, then these are things that you need to check and see and watch. Because these things matter. Because the moment that anybody turns on Donald Trump, he slithers like and he attacks him. James Comey, for instance. Trump doesn't want you to speak out against him. And now he's doing it against Republicans who are saying, hey, let's solve this. Let's fix this issue. Let's look at what we're going through here. Let's fix this. And then also on Friday night, a court ruling. Judge Christopher Cooper ruled that the Trump administration violated the First Amendment by hijacking federal employees' emails. When the shutdown started, Education Department employees set up normal out-of-office messages. Then, The Trump administration waited until employees lost access because they were furloughed and changed their messages without permission. They replaced these messages with partisan messages blaming Democrats. This is what happened. And then also, if you look on any type of federal government website, you will see that it'll say something blood government shutdown because of Democrats. And it's written in first person as if the employee wrote it. The Judge Cooper wrote, "Government employees do not sign away their First Amendment rights. They certainly do not sign up to be a billboard for partisan views. Political officials are free to blame whoever they wish, but they cannot use civil servants as unwilling spokespeople." And he ordered them to stop immediately. Now, when NBC News reached out after the ruling, they got an automated reply with the same partisan language. And they're continuing to do the thing that the judge told them to stop. This was not a mistake. This is the government putting people to put it out there to blame Democrats. This is what this is about. This is unconstitutional, and it's terrifying. Like it's terrifying whenever you go onto a government website and then you see that the government website is blaming the other party. Right? Like there's something that to me is very unsettling about this. One of my friends posted on social media, he posted that, this is horrifying and it's scary, and it is. It is that whenever you go to USDA.gov or any other, they will say it's because of the Democrats. And that's scary. But coming up next, we are going to talk about the longest government shutdown and SNAP crisis. So go grab you another shot. You're going to need it. And come on back. Let's get it. All right. We are on day 40 of the longest government shutdown in American history. 40 days. 40 days the government has been shut down. 40 days federal workers have gone without their pay. On November 1st, for the first time in 60 years, for the first time in 60 years, SNAP benefits stopped being issued. Food stamps. 42 million Americans, 1 in 8 people, depends on this supplemental nutrition assistance program to survive, to afford food, not just for them, but for their family as well. And let me break it down who these people are. Nearly 40% are children under the age of 18. Children. Let me repeat that. Elderly people. people with disabilities, working family who don't make enough to cover food. And on November 1st, all of that, it stopped. It stopped. Now, the NPR's headline, Trump administration will fund SNAP food benefits for 50% of the normal payment. But wait, because it does get worse. The Trump administration said they could not use the $5 billion contingency fund that Congress set aside for exactly the situation that we are currently in. $5 billion sitting there for emergencies. And they said we can't legally use it. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said, we're going to run out of money in 2 weeks. You're talking about millions and millions of vulnerable families, of hungry families that are not going to have access to those funds because of this shutdown. And this is where the court steps in. 2 federal judges on November 1st ruled that freezing SNAP payments was unlawful. Judge John McConnell Jr. in Rhode Island said the Trump administration failed to consider the needless suffering that would cause millions of people. He suggested officials delay payments for political reasons. Political reasons. You're making people starve for politics. And both judges said Congress provide emergency funds, and you must use them. So on Monday, November 3rd, the Trump administration said, fine, we'll use it. We'll use the contingency fund. We will use these funds. That is what they said. But only for 50% of the normal benefit. That's half. They said the $4.65 billion was only enough for half payments. But if you normally get $187 a month, the average, you're now getting $93. Try feeding a family on $93 for a month. For a month, imagine. So on Friday, November 7th, there was absolute chaos. It was wild. The morning, USDA sent a memo saying they would release full November SNAP fundings to comply with the court order. State's newsroom reported full November SNAP benefits to be issued by Trump administration despite shutdown. The very same day, the Trump administration appealed to the Supreme Court asking them to block the order. To block it. And then late Friday, the Supreme Court temporarily granted Trump's request to block full SNAP payments. NPR reported the Supreme Court reportedly temporarily blocks full SNAP benefits even as they started to go out. So some states already started issuing full benefits when the Supreme Court said, hey, let's stop this. And here's the real world impact of this. Okay. Harvey Bofsar owns Fallsburg County store in Lawrence County. He said reporters with SNAP benefits, he told reporters that with SNAP benefits on hold, I've seen fewer and fewer customers. Here's the thing. 1 in 5 people in his county rely on SNAP benefits. In his town, it's higher. Houston residents were lining up in their cars for free food distribution at NRG Stadium. Arkansas was advising SNAP recipients to identify food pantries and ask friends and family for aid. Asking friends and family for food. That's what a state was telling its citizens. The food banks are overwhelmed. Lines wrapped around blocks. Rural grocery stores, which get 20 to 30% of revenue from SNAP, are seeing a massive drop. And here is Trump's reaction to all of this. Where was the president while 42 million people were losing food assistance? Golfing, Mar-a-Lago, hosting galas, traveling internationally. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said the administration displayed pathological levels of vindictiveness by taking the case to the Supreme Court. Pathological vindictiveness. And then Trump posted on Truth Social blaming Democrats, saying they were blocking passage of the budget. But here's the thing. The House hasn't voted since September 19th. Republicans control the House. They've been on vacation for 6 weeks. Speaker Mike Johnson won't call them out. And this is one thing that has pissed off Marjorie Taylor Greene of her own party. Because she wants to be in there working this out. And here's the shutdown by the numbers. Let me give you a full picture of it. We're day 40 of the shutdown, longest in American history. 900,000 federal workers furloughed, sent home without pay. 2 million working without paychecks, including air traffic controllers, TSA, Border Patrol. 42 million Americans lost SNAP benefits or only got half. Hundreds of flights are getting canceled. Food banks are becoming overwhelming across the country. And this isn't just about food. The FFA ordered a reduction in air traffic at 40 major airports starting Friday because of safety concerns. NBC4 Washington reported flights canceled nationwide. Supreme Court issues SNAP order. Nearly 80% of air traffic controllers in New York were calling out sick because they've been working without pay since October 1st. October. The FFA is warning about travel crisis heading into Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, the biggest travel holiday of the year, which is not that far away. And the Republicans are blaming the Democrats, are saying the Democrats are blocking the budget in the Senate. Democrats say Republicans are demanding massive spending cuts through recessions, permanently cutting already approved funds. Both sides are dug in, both claiming the moral high ground. And meanwhile, people are starving. People are tired. People are working for no money. And then Trump wants the Senate to do the nuclear option, to do the filibuster, to get rid of the filibuster, the nuclear option. He wants this so Republicans can pass their bill without a simple majority. Senate Republicans, including McConnell, have refused. On Saturday, November 8th, the Senate came in starting at noon. ABC News reported the Senate will be in session on Saturday, but it's not clear what, if anything, senators will vote on. Senate Majority Leader John Thune spoke to reporters no progress. Schumer continued criticizing Republicans for damaging effects of the record-breaking, shattering shutdown, but no votes, no deals, just more finger-pointing. This is cruel. This is immoral. The government has been shut down since October 1st. That's on Republicans. That's on Democrats. Both sides are being stubborn. Both sides are playing politics. Both sides are measuring their dicks. But when 42 million people, including millions of kids, lose food assistance because politicians won't put up their fucking dicks to see and realize what's going on around them, that's not politics. That's a moral failure. The Trump administration had $5 billion sitting there for emergencies. And then they spent a week arguing about whether they were legally allowed to use it to feed hungry people. Feed hungry people. Meanwhile, Trump's been golfing, the House has been on vacation, and people are standing in line at food banks. This is what happens whenever you use human beings as political pawns, as political leverage. You cannot starve 42 million people to win a political fight. You can't. It's morally wrong and it's politically stupid. Because guess what happened Tuesday? Democrats won everywhere. Voters rejected this. They said no to this chaos, no to this cruelty. And Republicans still haven't learned the lesson. Pass a clean, continuing resolution, open the government, then fight about the budget. But they won't. Because hurting people and then blaming the Democrats is what they want. They want to see, look, this is what the Democrats are doing. We just want to pass this clean CR bill. That's all that we want to do. We just want to pass it. That's it. But that's not the case, because Chuck Schumer had even said, we will pass this bill if you just give us one more year until we can work out the issues involving health insurance. And the Republicans turned it down. And then coming up next, I want to explain what this all means. Get you that final shot, baby, and feel that burn. Let's go. All right. So what does all of this mean? What has this week taught us? What has this previous week meant to us? It meant that, one, Democrats can win when they focus on the economy, when they focus on jobs, when they focus on affordability, when they focus on wages, when they focus on making housing more affordable, making food more affordable, making healthcare more affordable. These things is what will help the Democrats win. These things. Number two, the Republicans right now are eating themselves. MTG on The View, Marjorie Taylor Greene on The View, Ted Cruz calling her a liberal, and Rand Paul voting against Trump. Trump's power, Trump's fame, if you will, it has its limits. His endorsements didn't work this past election. I've heard people say, don't worry, don't worry. It means nothing. These were already blue states. Were they? I mean, Virginia's kind of purple. And they voted in their first ever female governor. New York, a city that has the highest Jewish population, voted in Mamdani. Trump's endorsement isn't working. His policies right now are becoming very unpopular. And real people are suffering. And that's the major thing of this, is that people are hurting. 42 million are without food. 14 dead in Louisville. Federal workers are unpaid and then going and door dashing, Lyft, Uber, what have you, doing whatever they can in order to get to survive right now. And this matters. Election matters. And here's the thing. When Marjorie Taylor Greene and Rand Paul start becoming the voices of reason, when I start agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, when I start agreeing with Rand Paul on these issues and seeing and feeling what is happening right now, the Republican Party, y'all need to figure out something. Because what right now, these tariffs are not helping. They're not. People are hurting. The Trump administration has literally said, let's not send out these funds. In fact, the Trump administration requests states that have already sent out these funds to request those funds to be sent back to them. People are hurting. Check in on people. Donate to food banks. Check on people. Be there for each other. Love each other, and realize that we're all human beings and we're all just trying to get through this thing called life. In words of Prince, we're all just trying to get through this thing called life, and right now so many people are hurting, and we're all just being political pawns. And this is the reason why the midterms matter. This is the reason why doing this matters to me. Because we need somebody to educate and to explain but not only that, but to step out and say, you know what? Both sides, quit being assholes and do your fucking job. That's it. It's that simple. Quit being assholes and do your fucking job. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for the amazing responses that I've got so far. It means a lot. Keep listening, liking, sharing, follow, subscribe. Do all of those things. Reach out to me on social media at mateo.vicio.heart. Reach out to me. I'm letting me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know how I can improve. Let me know these things. And let me know what you want me to talk about. What you want to hear. And as always, don't forget, you can always be right here and listen with Mateo. And we out.